Any ideas?
Hello, everyone. The world is a little bit weird at the moment. And so this stream isn't the usual, yay, everything is fine, let's distract ourselves from quarantine. I basically didn't feel like I could do that sort of stream today because there's a lot of hurt happening. There's a lot of people hurting right now, and I've kind of been watching it all unfurl on the news and on Twitter and on various things, and it's sort of been breaking my heart a little bit watching it all happen. And I felt very helpless as someone who is like a sheltered individual, in terms of like a shielding individual. That's another thing that we'll talk about later on in this stream, because there's different things that I want to talk about, but the main thing is the protests and such happening over in America because of the death of George Floyd, who like had a knee on his neck even after he was unconscious, and then later died. And that's not okay. Like it took days for charges to be brought, rather than like something swift, and because it was all on tape anyway. Yeah, I felt a little bit helpless, and oh my god, I thought I'd do a live stream to talk over some things that people might be wanting to talk about it, just to lend my voice to the thousands, hundreds of thousands, hopefully millions of people out there who are angry about this situation, and whose hearts go out to the family of George Floyd, the family of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, like people who, like these stories happen over and over and over again. These stories happen, they loop around, and you kind of watch on go, like I'm in a very privileged position, and we'll talk about privilege later. I'll explain what I mean by that, but I'm in the very privileged position of not being directly affected by this stuff, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me emotionally in terms of like feeling for the people who it does affect. So I thought I would do the stream, talk over some things, and then as well, because YouTube has this lovely new fundraising ability that we can do, I had a look at some charities, and today a bunch of the Rooster Teeth team, people might know that I'm a big fan of Rooster Teeth, and a bunch of the team over there, Matt Hullum and his wife Anna, a whole bunch of people, they were matching donations to the NAACP. And so I thought, well, let's see if I can. I had a look, and there wasn't a fundraiser yet for them on YouTube, at least not one that was open that I could jump onto. So I've made one, and we're already nearly at $3,000. So thank you. You're going to be helping a lot of people with that, and yeah, that's there's like, if you would like to give to another charity, you're more than welcome to. You don't have to donate to this one that I'm doing. There's a bunch in the community tab I posted. I wasn't sure whether I was going to actually do a live stream, and so I just said, look, here are some links my friend Elle had put up on Twitter. So I took her lead and took those and put them on there, as well as a link to her Twitter feed, because also if you can't donate, if you don't have the funds to, that's absolutely fine. There are other things that you can do, and there are suggestions in the tweet that she shared. And there's a lot of petitions that you can go and sign, basically. Yeah, it's amazing. Ellen, can you explain the charity, please? They basically are a civil rights charity who help to fight injustices. I can't even talk. Faced by African American people. So they have there's a thing that they have, the Legal Defense Fund, where they like to help people who need legal costs and stuff like that. But just in general, like, they have you might have heard of them through their awards ceremony. They have like a film awards and music awards and things like that that are kind of like advocating Black creators and things like that. There's a link directly, if you above the chat, it says like the total raised, which is now 3,500. Holy crap, thank you. And it says show more, and there's details there. Click through to the website, double check everything, and see if it's a charity that you would like to give to. I had a look through and I felt very happy choosing them as a charity, but there are also so many other charities doing so much work. It's such a huge task that it's very difficult to summarize what a charity like this does. So yeah, but my jumping off point was I saw the Rooster Teeth gang tweeting it out and donating, and I took my lead from them by being like, yeah, okay, I'll check them out. That looks like a good charity. Okay. And also you're sort of limited on YouTube as to what charities that you can choose. So there were a couple of other charities that weren't on a particular register. So they are registered charities, but they weren't on the particular list that YouTube has. So there's some different ones out there as well that I couldn't directly do, but NAACP I can, which was good and useful. So do help them, and thank you so over 4,000. Wow, I was not expecting that. I was thinking I was gonna get like 500 raised for them, but thank you so much. Anyway, I kind of don't know where to start, because you're all being so generous, so I kind of feel like you're all very much on board and very much on the same page. So I will like dive into some things. What I say dive into, I don't want to feel like I can talk on behalf of Black people. I can't. I'm the white lady from London. Hello. I don't live in America. I don't live here. Like, I don't know exactly what it's like for people who are going through this. Although saying that, I'm in London, I don't know. That there is, like, there's stuff happening in London, there's protests in London, because this stuff isn't unique to America. It's perhaps unique in the way it happens in America, partly because of just how militarized the police force is there. If you want to know more about just how much they are militarized, it was made a few years ago, but I tweeted out last week tonight. John Oliver did a segment on police militarization. It's all on their YouTube channel. It should be available in the UK and things like that. Go watch it, because it is mind-blowing. And like it's just the attitude towards the job in some cases is very strange. Like the tagline is protect and serve, but like they're going around in things that were used in like the Afghan wars and stuff like it's like that stuff should be last resort. Stuff that they're using right now, in my humble opinion, should be last resort if like there is a full on ridiculous riot. But right now that it's just angry people who are hurt, and like talking about like going on to like the looting and things. It's not something I don't think it's great. I understand that it's just like frustration, so you don't want to take it out on people, so you take it out on stuff and on huge corporations who probably won't feel any pain from it monetarily, really. They'll be insured and things like that. And so, like, as much as I'm like, oh, I wish people wouldn't, I'm not gonna sit here. I'm not someone who is living with, like, the constant threat that they live with. When we had a kind of similar situation in the UK, back in 2011, I believe it was, when we had the London riots. So right now is not the only time that London was basically on lockdown. We had like 3 nights in a row because there was a police shooting. Mark Duggan, a man called Mark Duggan, was killed, and people were upset. Like there were like conflicting reports of the police saying that he had a gun, and they like, I won't go into that. Like that's stuff that you can read up on, but like understandably people were upset that someone died. And like there were witnesses who said that he wasn't armed. So people were like, an unarmed man was shot by the police. And this is like a rarity in the UK because we don't have, not every police officer carries a gun with them. So this was a big deal. And yeah, like London was on fire for 3 nights in a row almost. And at the time, I was just like, I actually made a video on my channel being like, oh, if you take part in the riots, you are not a real Londoner. You don't care about London, blah, blah, blah. Think about what you're doing. It was very, like, self-righteous. Oh my goodness, Pastor Ellen. And I've since got rid of it. Because I don't want people to misconstrue what I thought then mistakenly as what I think now. And basically, I simmered down. I think it was because London is such a multicultural, fairly progressive, very welcoming to different people here, type of town. And it just, I couldn't believe that this stuff was happening. But all of this stuff was happening like under the surface for years, like stop and search, all that sort of stuff. So that's why like people are still protesting now, because that stuff is still going on. And after the riots, I was like reading up on it. I was like, oh, people were just upset. And that's how they did it. And yeah, in any situation like that, you probably are going to get people who are like, oh, I'm just going to go and see if I can get free TV. I'm going to use this to do whatever. But like the majority of people in those situations are just angry people. And there was an interesting piece, I think it was, I'm going to be like, show my stripes, in The Guardian, darling. I think it was The Guardian, something, or The Observer, one of those, where it was like, well, we live in such a materialistic world where everyone's told that you need all of this stuff, and then we make it hideously expensive, and we create a system where a lot of people will never be able to afford those things. So when they see the opportunity to get it, and like after trying to play by the rules, after trying to get it by playing by the rules, like and it like that made me kind of go, okay, I still don't think looting is great. I especially don't think it's great if you go and vlog it. If you just see people suffering as an opportunity to go and make a vlog where you go looting and are like, oh, things are going crazy right now. But like sometimes you just need to understand that this just comes from a place of pain. And also, in regards to looting, even without all that, even if it was just opportunistic, even if it was 100% people just wanting free stuff from Target, why is that? Some people are more upset at that than someone being killed. That's... Anyway. If that's your if your priority is things over a person, I'm not being like, I don't want to be one of those people that like, oh, because you're not mentioning this, that means you definitely don't care about this, because you can care about multiple things at the same time, and we shouldn't use that to like derail things. But like, honestly, please make sure that you are prioritizing certain things like people's lives. But yeah, holy crap, we've gone over 5,000. Thank you so much. It's SW299, like, honestly, I'm done with life in general at this point if this keeps up. Like, the world that we live in, it's incredibly disheartening to be in the world that we're in right now. Like, I'm doing this stream because I have felt so helpless being the other side of the Atlantic Ocean and just being like, what do I do? Okay, I'm gonna talk about it. And I hope that I'm being thoughtful, and that I'm gonna... One thing I will say is keep an eye on my Twitter, because I'm trying to like elevate things. It's a little bit like, oh my goodness, everything bad is happening right now, but it's something that we need to keep an eye on, and yeah, we can't let this slide, because I don't want to see a few months down the line or a couple of years down the line another person being killed, and then the person that did it just being fired or suspended or being moved to a different police station 2 towns over, because that's the thing that happens sometimes. They get fired and then they just get a job as a cop somewhere else, which is wild. And yeah, this stream is a little bit of a weird one. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll point you in the direction of another thing that it's me saying about the police officer just going like 2 doors down. Last week tonight, John Oliver. I'm a bit of a fangirl of that show. I love it a lot. But they also did one. So the police militarization, I believe, was like from 2014 after Ferguson happened. And then 2 years later, they did one on police accountability, and just how few of these cases end up with a charge, let alone end up in court with any kind of conviction. And it is wild. It is wild to me, watching that. Oh my goodness. Oh, Norset says new episode tonight. Okay, I am looking forward to that. Hopefully happening. Thank people saying that not to apologize. Thank you very much. Well, I'm more sorry that I'm not being like as eloquent as I would like to be. I'm just very aware that I'm someone with a platform, and I would like to use that platform for good. And right now, this is what I feel is the best thing that I can do right now. And yeah, a lot of love for John Oliver in the chat. I love John Oliver so much. I've been enjoying the quarantine version of Last Week Tonight. It is great watching him go slightly mad in his apartment in front of a white wall. But still absolutely nailing everything. Dracnus Voloka says it is a weird stream, but at least someone is doing something positive after what happened. Well, I'm glad it's a positive thing, because I'm always so worried that if I have this problem, right? Before I got into gaming, I had people telling me, don't talk about video games because you're a lady. It's a thing that happened. Not everyone is saying, obviously, but like, it was a thing that was said to me. Now that I'm in video games, and it is my job to talk about video games, I get now like people telling me to not talk about politics and stick to video games. But the thing is, there's also still peppered amongst that the people who say that I shouldn't be talking about video games because I'm a girl, and then a woman. I'm an adult. But like, I don't know what to do then. Like, should I talk about video games or not talk about? I don't know. But right now, I want to talk about this. I am a very opinionated person, and in my opinion, what is happening is just awful. Just can't quite express just how ridiculous it all is to see it happening again and again and again. Like, but it's this thing where I'm not surprised by it. I'm shocked by everything that I'm seeing, but I'm not surprised. Like, I'm shocked that the press are being shot at with rubber bullets, tear gassed, held on the floor, and pepper sprayed in the face. These are all things that I saw video evidence of today. And like, police officers stealing water and milk so that people can't, like, when they pepper spray them, because people get milk because it deals with the pepper spray. There was, just before this stream, I saw a kid had been pepper sprayed, and the photo of the guy that had did it, he had tape over his badge number. Like, they're trying to hide who they are. An amazing video of some guys on one of these ridiculously armoured tank type cars that they shouldn't have to need as police officers. They were all on there, and then the car had stopped, and then the car started again, and two of them weren't holding on properly, so they fell off. One of them, like, fell over, picked himself up, immediately pepper sprayed nothing. He was in the middle of the road, but it was that thing of, you know, when you like trip over and you know it wasn't the pavement that did it, but you look down at the pavement like, oh, it was that, but with pepper spray, because he fell off an armoured car. Like, oh my goodness. And yeah, like these people are not, they're just everyday cops. They are not trained for these types of situations. Like, just watch the police militarization Last Week Tonight. Like, it's not, they just have a lot of toys and they want to use it, is basically the gist of that. Anyway, thank you so much to people who are donating. We've reached over 6,000. This is wild. It's ridiculous. That was it. I wanted to read out an Instagram post which I shared onto my stories. Sorry, welcome to a YouTube video where I'm going to sit and read out an Instagram post, but it's a quote by Actually, I've got it. I picked up the quote. It's by Scott Woods, an author. He wrote. I looked him up, and he's written some books about Prince, Prince and Little Weird Black Boy Gods. Prince essays by Scott Woods. That sounds amazing, and I believe my friend Daniel J. Layton should probably read that because he loves Prince. Right. Okay. So the people like. I think the people who get it, and I might be preaching to the choir here a little bit, but this is just to kind of explain how racism is not just like being mean to people because they look different. It's a deeper thing, especially towards African Americans, and just I like to all races, but in like very different ways. But in this talking about in this particular instance about African Americans, the problem is that white people see racism as conscious hate when racism is bigger than that. Racism is a complex system of social and political levers and pulleys set up generations ago to continue working on the behalf of whites at other people's expense, whether whites know/like it or not. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of a breakdown of this. So this is a thing, like, whether you know it or not, as a white person, racism is affecting other people and you are sort of benefiting from it, and we'll get properly to that. And it's whether I'll just let the quote speak for itself for a little bit. Hang on. Racism is an insidious cultural disease. It is so insidious that it doesn't care if you are a white person who likes black people. It's still going to find a way to infect how you deal with people who don't look like you. Yes, racism looks like hate, but hate is just one manifestation. Privilege is another. I will speak more about privilege specifically in a second. And access is another. Ignorance is another. Apathy is another, and so on. So while I agree with people who say no one is born racist, it remains a powerful system that we're immediately born into. It's like being born into air. You take it in as soon as you breathe. It's not a cold that you can get over. There is no anti-racist certification class. It is a set of socioeconomic traps and cultural values that are fired up every time we interact with the world. It is a thing that you have to keep scooping out of the boat of your life to keep from drowning in it. I know it's hard work, but it's the price you pay for owning everything. So this is addressing white people. Hello. And it's just this thing of, like, even if we didn't help build the situation, even if we're not being like, yeah, I think what the police is doing right now is great, we're still benefiting from it. So we need to make our voices heard that we don't agree with this stuff, because we need to stand with black people. We need to stand with anyone who isn't white who is affected by this stuff. But I want to talk about privilege, because I tried years ago. I did a video on white privilege. It's still up, but I don't think it's the best video I've done. Years ago I tried to do social kind of issue videos, and some hit really well and some didn't, and I think this one didn't hit as well as it could have. It basically I wound up the very people that I was trying to reach, because it's this thing where you have to, when you're talking to people, it's like when you're trying to convert people, but not that I want to say that. I just want people to be like, let's be nice to people and just understand this. It's, but the very people that I was trying to reach and reach out to and like win over, I suppose, I said it. I was too sassy and bad in it. Because I'd got to the point where I was like, why don't people get this yet? Like, I've been told about it, and I got it like immediately. I was like, oh, okay. And I got it as someone who grew up in London, who saw things like my first realization of what like white privilege was before I knew what it would like the label would be. Is I was a big fan of Barbies when I was a kid. Like any young kid who likes dolls, Barbies is kind of like the one. I was a bit too old for Bratz. Although I did have Shelley as well, which is like the British Barbie, I believe. And I was in a shop. I remember being in Kingston in Surrey. I think it was either the Woolworths or the Argos. Because I don't know whether no, it wouldn't be an Argos because Argos did. I think it was like the Woolworths. And they had a black Malibu Barbie. And I was like, I need that immediately because I finally found a doll that looks like my friends. Because I had a real mixed group of friends when I was that age. Like, in fact, like it was kind of like a 50-50 split in my class of like white and non-white kids. So like, I was like, we were like a perfect episode of Sesame Street, man. Almost. And like, I was like, why are there no dolls that look like my friends? Like, I can't even imagine what it was like for my friends that couldn't find any doll, and like if they saw a doll that looked like them. That's why things like that are so important, because I was just my mind was blown by the fact that there was a thing. But the privilege that I had is that all the other dolls looked like me, like in terms of the skin tone. There weren't many brunette dolls. All the dolls in the 90s were still blonde and white. But like, oh my goodness, that there was a black doll who looked like my friend, and so I had a doll that looked like my friend. And that meant the world to me. And that's not even me. Like, imagine how my friend must have felt. But yeah, so like the privilege for me there, like, and I'm still using the word privilege and not quite explaining it. Because the problem with, I think the phrase white privilege is an important one, but I think it's one that is misunderstood very easily by the people that it's trying to explain their privilege to, so certain white people. I think it's because of the word privilege. When we think of the word privilege, especially in the UK, I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, when we think of privilege, we think of people I say we, I'm just using the collective we, not me necessarily. But like privilege, often the first thing that comes to people's minds is like fancy houses. So when you hear the words white privilege, you might be like, I am not privileged. I don't have money. I don't have the ability to spend loads of money on luxuries. When you think of privilege, you often think of luxuries. But really, the core meaning of the word privilege is just you having something that other people don't. So when we think of privilege, we think of that very small group of haves, and we're all the have-nots. So when you are a working class white person who is told you have white privilege, you're like, no, because I don't have money. But that's not what it means. That's not what it means. Because privilege, all privilege means is you have something that someone else doesn't have. And what you have, and this is the other level to it, what you have is something that every person on earth should have, and that's the freedom to go around without fear of being killed by the police, being automatically thought of as a criminal, being stopped and searched, and all of these other things, all of these things that you think, well, no, that doesn't, of course, like, that's not a privilege, that's a right. And so when you're told that you're privileged because you have these basic rights, you think, what? Roddy McCann in the comments says, I think of the Tories. Yeah, like, we're in the UK. When you think of privilege, you think of a certain type of person who has lots of money. But what white privilege means is you have fundamental human rights. That's all it is. Because the sad truth is that not everyone has those rights right now because of the way that people perceive them and the way that certain laws are in place that mean, yeah, you can stop and search that person because they fit a certain criteria. And yeah, it's really, yeah, it's not about materialistic things. It's about being able to walk into a shop without being followed by security. Like, that's a thing. It's something that I've experienced when I used to have my hair dyed red and looked very emo and all that stuff. I would sometimes get followed because they thought that I was going to do something because I looked like a bad girl at some point, you know, like, ugh. But and the thing is with that is I can go and change my outfit and my hair. Black people cannot change their skin. That is who they are. So like, I'm never going to equate what I went through to what they deal with every single day of their lives. But there's like slight taste, and I'm like, holy crap! Imagine having to live with this. And yeah, it's yeah. Welshie of colour, even at the age of 5, I was followed around Aldi by security guards. I guess they thought I was a tiny thief. It's these assumptions, and like, I think sometimes as well people don't realise that they're doing it. Sometimes it's overt and they're like, I don't trust black people, so I'm going to follow this person. Sometimes it's just like, sometimes they don't even realise it, and sometimes it's hiding behind like statistics, but statistics that just means like how many people are in prison. And that's another thing, that the prison system in a lot of countries, especially America, the most like the highest incarceration rate in the world in America. Funnily enough, most of the people in prison tend to be black and tend to be in prison for crimes that white people don't get charged as much for. So like drug crimes and things like that. And when I say drug crimes, I mean like the slightly lighter stuff. I'm not talking about like huge criminal gangs. I'm talking about someone like, I'm not into that stuff, but like, treat everyone equally if you're gonna have laws about this stuff. Anyway, like, Black Area Gaming says, the insane thing to me about the US police is the amount of time spent training. From what I recall reading, US cops are trained for 7 weeks, whereas UK police have at least 3 years of training. Yeah, there's a lot of like different stages to UK training. I do think one thing that needs to be done when it comes to like recruitment for the police, like some people are calling for stronger kind of like restrictions in terms of like more like things to find out what these people think before they join the police force. So like just like interviews, more interviews, and just finding out more about them before you give them a gun. But I think we need to make sure that we don't like the police, being a police officer is not just a career, it's a life choice. Like, it's you're choosing to, in the US it's serve and protect. And the thing is, like, I saw actually a police advert in the UK for joining the police, and it was this very nice lady who joined when she was later on in life. Like, I say late, she was still a young lady, but like, she'd worked in radio for 20 years and now she wanted a change, and now she's become a police officer, and it's, you know, it's never too late to become a police officer, and that's great. I think, you know, we shouldn't like completely close the door of becoming a police officer to only young people. I think we should make sure that everyone is able to join, whatever age they are. But I don't think we should have things like that be a career move. I think you really should. It's a vocation. It's not a career. Like you've got to really want to help people and to want justice, and not a very specific type of justice. I mean, like actual justice. But yeah, it is wild. Yeah. Oh, other things. So things that I can recommend you do. So check out my Twitter. I'm trying to like raise up the voices of press and point people in the direction of ways they can help, and raise up Black American voices, because they are the people most affected by this stuff. But also see what it's like in your local community wherever you live in the world. There's protests all over. There's protests in the UK and Canada. There's even protests in Japan, I believe. And yeah, so keep yourself informed. Another thing is if you don't know where the hell to start with any of this stuff, and all of this stuff is very overwhelming, you don't want to have to go and read a load of books. At least not yet. I do recommend like read things that African American people have written, and learn from them. It is vital. Talk to your Black friends, ask them about things, and just be like, are you okay right now? In a non-patronizing way as well. But like, if you don't know where to start, watch films about this type of stuff. Now I know it's like dramatized and it's slightly different, but like stories help us empathize with people. Like there was pretty much direct. I know correlation doesn't equal causation, but there was like historians have noticed a correlation between the release of novels and the decrease in desire to go and watch people be publicly executed in history. Because reading a novel, you have to see through someone else's eyes. And it's the same in film. So like, yes, people were reading. Also, the other thing was why you've got something to do. You've got a book to read and you can use your imagination rather than see someone be killed. But like, watch films about people, not just about like I love fun explodey films, but sit yourself down and watch a drama every once in a while and have one of those dramas be about the struggles of people who are different to you. Earlier this year, I can recommend one straight out the bat, is Just Mercy. It was very good. The acting in it was superb, and I went and saw it in the cinema before all the cinemas shut. And goodness me, I cried in that cinema, and it's based off a true story. The guy who is the lawyer character in it, like, he was involved in making the film, and he is still working to this day. He's actually he works for the Equal Justice Initiative, and they're another cause that you can maybe go and support. His thing was helping guys, African Americans who have been put on death row, and they think that there was something iffy about it. And this is a story about a guy who was on death row and he was completely innocent. And like, just seeing how difficult it was, even it wasn't that long ago when this happened, when this story is set, and just seeing how difficult it's it's heartbreaking to watch, and you just think, is is there anything like that has changed? Is there anything different? And we just gotta, I don't know, we gotta work and push and support organizations that will help make change. So yeah, like we need to get behind the people who are being that change. So yeah, go and watch things. Because stories help you become more empathetic. They make you see through other people's eyes. They make you realise that you're not the only person in the world. And I think that's so important. I think a lot of people don't. And I'm not saying that everyone, or most. I'm just saying there's too many people who don't stop and think, oh, but how will this affect someone else? So yeah, like look into those stories. I think I'm a big fan of stories, and yeah. I'll read in the chat. I'm just seeing a few people saying some suggestions. There's lots of amazing. When They See Us on Netflix is very good, says Boltzmann. Red says, in case some people don't feel angry enough, you can always watch the movie Mississippi Burning. Do it, like, have a look at look them up, see what you think. And yeah, it's just something. Another thing that happened today, before I go on to like some UK things that I'd like to talk about that are kind of to do with me, that I just want a little quickly rant about at another point. Donald Trump saying that Antifa is a terrorist organization. They're not an organization. Antifa is an idea. It just means anti-fascist, and anyone can like pick up a flag and do it. It's not. And anyway, whether you like Antifa and their whether you like their methods or not, I'm personally not a fan of fascists. I'll say that. But my main question to the US government is why isn't the KKK listed as a terrorist organization? Just I mean, you can go and take out a bunch of them in Red Dead Redemption 2. I like how dumb they're made out in that game as well. Like 90% of the time, if you just stand there, they will all accidentally kill themselves because they're all dumb. And they're all just shouting at each other, and yeah, they're man. It's just like, okay, right. Going on to that, man. Sorry, I'm just gonna move, and my leg is slightly. Sorry if that was loud. By the way, thank you to the nice person who was a sound engineer and pointed out that my microphone was back to front. It swiveled at one point, and I was like, oh, I best straighten that up, and didn't double check which side round it was, and I was like, then a few days later when I actually used my mic again, was like, oh, why is it so echoey? And didn't connect it, and I was like, oh, because I couldn't see, because I've got the pop shield so that you don't have to listen to me make a like noise all the time whenever I say my P's. But anyway, Connor Burton, fascism is bad, hot take alert. I know, right? Nazis are bad. That's another, just in case people don't know that. So apparently not enough people know that. Because all people should know that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, everyone enjoying the Arthur Morgan reactions to the KKK in that game as well. Arthur Morgan is just an absolute treasure of a character, isn't he? Yeah. What was that? It was something dumb that the American government have done. Um, oh, that was it. Certain president tweeting out. Fun fact. I've said it before on Twitter a few times. But in the English vernacular, Trump means fart. So do with that what you will. So yeah, if someone did a Trump, means they farted. So I like to nickname him President Fart. Anyway, so President Fart tweeted out when white privilege. Going back to that thing. And the thing is, in this case, I think it really is an actual privilege that these particular white people had, because there were people protesting with rifles, and this was to do with the lockdown, people protesting the lockdown. So people were upset because they couldn't go get their hair done. Okay, that seemed to be the gist of what I was seeing. And as someone who is immunocompromised, hello, this was enraging to see all these people going, I just want to do whatever I want, I don't care, whatever, against like doctors' advice. And like none of them were tear gas. And this is not me saying that they should have been, but none of them were tear gas, none of them were kettled in, none of them were like, they were just left to it. And like there were some police there, obviously, like, and the people shouted in the police officers' faces, screaming in their faces without masks during a global pandemic. And like there wasn't the response that there is to people walking around who are like, can you not kill people? Hey, we're all wearing masks because we don't want to get ill. And like the protesters are trying to socially distance as much as possible. When people are gathering, they're like, okay, we're going to try and do this. And it's like they're trying to be so careful and sensible with it, and trying to look after each other and be there for one another. And it's also a way more diverse group of people, just saying. And they're the ones that are met with a military force. The African Americans going, could you please stop killing us? This is killing us. They're the ones being met with violence, and so are it's stretching across to everyone now, because even the white people supporting them have been pushed around. So have the press, who are trying to report on the situation. It is ridiculous, and like that's the difference. And Trump was like, during the first during the lockdown protests, he was like, oh, they're just exercising their rights as American citizens this time because a couple of people got angry and threw things, which again I don't condone, but the majority of people were being peaceful, and there were still people who were angry and throwing things in the lockdown protests, like as in like, and even if they were like shouting in their faces without masks during a pandemic, and going, I don't need to wear a mask, and then anyway, calm, and yeah, like they were walking around with guns and going, this is my amendment, right? It's an amendment. It was added to the This is the Constitution. Yeah, it's an amendment. It was added to later. Anyway, I don't want to say that because that will undermine other things that are good amendments. But still, yeah, like it's it's just astounding that people can walk around with white people can walk around with rifles and be called really good citizens, and a black person throws a bottle and like they throw a bottle and they're thugs because they got upset that someone was killed. White people can carry rifles because they're mad that they can't get a haircut. Black people throw a bottle because someone they know was killed after pleading for their life, and they're the thugs. What? Anyway, the size are real. Yep, they are. Yep. I mean, anyway, yeah, I love America so much. I visit it so much for work. I think it's such a wonderful and unique place, but there's just certain things that I don't get. I just don't get. And I think a lot of the people that live there feel the same. And I want to be able to help change things for the better for my friends and family and followers as well. Any viewers out there who are living in this situation, I want you all to be safe and looked after, and yeah. Katie Douglas, that's fair, Ellen. We don't get it either, and we live here. Exactly. Like, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to be stuck in that situation. But big hugs to everyone that is. If you are gonna be protesting or anything at any point, I won't be able to join any in the UK, sadly, because I am trying to stay shielded, because I'll do this as a very quick aside rather than its own thing, because I want to make this mainstream to be about what is happening in America. I don't want to derail it and just make it about my annoying thing. But yeah, in the UK last night, just very quickly, the government decided to say shielded people can go out from Monday and meet up with one other person, as long as they're socially distancing. I don't. A lot of people have flagged that, being like they've not cited where that's okay, and in terms of they've not said where they have been advised that this is okay, and they're just putting people at risk, because it's different to what their initial plan was. There's a 5-point scale, and at 1, we're at 3 or whatever, and at 1 is when vulnerable people like myself are allowed out, and they've switched it. But I don't trust them. I don't trust my government. So there's a little similarity at the moment there with some people in America. I don't trust my government. I don't trust what they're telling us to do. I don't think it's safe yet. I think I'm really worried about people getting ill. What I will do is I'm allowing myself to go out into the garden when my neighbours aren't out, because then I'm our gardens are very small and quite close together, and my neighbours have had people around loads, so they've not really been adhering to the lockdown rules like everyone else, but oh well. But I will go into my garden and be outside. I'm gonna allow myself to go outside, but that is it. I'm not gonna go anywhere else because I don't trust my government to have got this information from anywhere fine. Anyway, because of that, I won't be joining any protests in London, sadly. So this is another reason why I've done this stream. Thank you so much. We've raised over $7,000. That is wonderful. And you're gonna make me cry. Oh yeah, David Hedges, Sage Group says no, NHS says no, keep safe, ignore them. Yeah, like go by what the doctors say if you're like me in the same situation. But yeah, if you're going out to any of these protests, please do look after yourselves. Make sure you wear a mask. Make sure you have hand sanitizer. And yeah, if you're in America, try and take like small bottles of milk, because I saw like a video. I think it's like also if you're like someone who's being sensible and trying to stock up the large milk, like gallons of milk, like be careful where you store them, because I saw a video of two cops like stealing water bottles, like huge packs of water bottles, and then taking the milk and smashing it on the ground so that it couldn't be used. I think I mentioned that earlier on the stream. But yeah, so have a backup mini milk bottle with you if you're in America. Because wow. Because the thing is, you've all got a right to protest as long as you're all like being sensible, wearing masks, washing your hands. Because I am someone who's like, we should all be staying in our houses. I think like we should all just be like not getting back to normal. And there is the part of my brain that's like, a protest is where everyone will get ill. And seeing the lockdown protests when no one was wearing masks. Oh, sorry, hit the mic. No one was wearing masks. Everyone was shouting in each other's faces. And it was... I'm sure they weren't washing their hands as much as like you should be in a situation like this. Because hey, why should I wash my hands more than normal? It's not. It's all a hoax. Yeah. Emily Price says use water with baking soda. Take some Arm & Hammer baking soda. Other brands are available, but I used some of that today for some laundry or cleaning and stuff. So, yeah, if you're lactose intolerant, use that. So Kate Collier was like, "What if you're lactose intolerant? Baking soda and water." It looks like, yeah. So like, do look at. I understand the anger and the hurt, and that you need to have your voices heard, because a pandemic is happening right now. But even when this pandemic is over, there is a very real chance that more black people will be killed on the streets every single day by police officers. And that shouldn't continue, to put it very, well, not even bluntly. Like, that shouldn't be happening at all. But yeah. Mattress 757 is research, guys. So please, I don't know what's... yeah, Grace also, careful not to scratch your eyes with baking soda. Yeah, because baking soda is like good for like graining in things, so don't get stuff in your eyes. JC says do not use milk and antacids. Antacids, is that how you would say it? Or antacids can make the pepper spray burn worse. Use only water. Okay. But yeah, don't. And then people saying don't have a hot shower. Look this stuff up. But I was just thinking, because I know that you can get the smaller milk bowls. So don't trust me. I've never had to deal with like pepper spray, because we don't use it in the UK as far as I know. There's tear gas and stuff, but that's different. So yeah. Oh, amazing. Frodo Baggins says, Aoife, so lovely Aoife Wilson, has put up a checklist of what to pack for the protests on her Instagram story. So I will share that on my Instagram story. And I'll share that, and then you got that, because I trust Aoife, because she's great. She's Irish and she knows what she's talking about. Mr. M. Bider says, don't just go pouring things in your eyes because the internet tells you to. So, like, do double check. Double check. Most people are saying cold water, but double check. And yeah, Tilda Atkinson, pepper spray is illegal in the UK, so is mace. Yeah, like, we don't use that stuff here. I think tear gas is used, like, is it different? I cannot remember. But there's certain things that are used, but there's a certain level of it's just go watch the police militarization last week tonight video that I suggested earlier. It's wild, the like artillery that is at hand. Charles Snow says don't wear contacts. Oh, sorry, I was getting my Aoife wrong. It was Aoife Lockhart, sorry. Right. I was thinking of a different Aoife. Apologies. Right. Chris Holland says I live in the UK and whatever I got sprayed with hurt like the Dickens. Or I know there is things that the UK police use, but I'm not sure exactly what it is, so I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on it. Basically, look after yourselves. I think I'll end it there. I've been here for an hour, and I'm gonna keep the thing open. We've raised 7,600. Oh my goodness. That is amazing. And yeah, like, yeah. Oh, everyone's saying Aoife Lockhart is Aoife Wilson. Yeah, I was just nighttime brain, and that's why I'm going to go to bed soon. I think I need to switch off. I think that we really need to listen to the people that this is affecting most. So while I'm sitting here trying to offer my help, please do go check out my Instagram. I'm going to share Aoife's story on there. And then also I'm going to basically going to be sharing more things on Twitter. Sorry, I've reached like a melt time. Also, my room is really warm and I had to close the window because there are people outside chatting, and I'm slowly melting and losing my mind. So I'm gonna head off. Please do look after yourselves. Make sure that if you are going to any protests, as I said before, please make sure that you wear a mask, wash your hands, have hand sanitizer, like, be careful. Make sure, like, because we still are in a pandemic and I don't want you to get ill, basically. And if you don't want to give to the NAACP, if there is another organization, like if there's another organization you would like to give to instead, feel free. If you can't give to an organization, things that I'm sharing on Twitter, those will all be things that I will be sharing of various ways that you can help, petitions, etc. Basically, my brain is melting slightly now, but thank you so much for being so generous. The fact that before I even started streaming, we hit $1,000 already. Thank you so much. But we need to keep at it. We need to keep at it in terms of making sure that we elevate the voices of Black people, like wherever we are in the world, and help them, because Black Lives Matter, and we shouldn't have to keep seeing this stuff happening. We shouldn't see this stuff happen again and again and again, and people shouldn't have to live in fear. So thank you so much. Look after yourselves. I'm going to go and open my window because I'm melting slowly. And yeah. Thank you so much. Look after yourselves. Black Lives Matter. I'm rambling now, but I am blown away by your generousness. And let's keep that steam going. Let's keep it going. Take breaks when you need to. For example, me going to open this window. But we can't just have this happen again a few months down the line. We can't. We need to make change. So help the organisations that fight for change. Thank you. And see you later.